First contact and desperate plea. The cosmic void between star systems held many secrets. Captain Alina Reyes knew this better than most, having spent 15 years commanding exploration vessels through uncharted regions of space. But nothing in her career had prepared her for what the UES Horizon was about to discover. "Captain, we're picking up an unusual signal," Lieutenant Jax Ortega reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface of his communications console. "Definitely artificial, but unlike anything in our database." Reyes crossed the bridge in 3 quick strides. Her curiosity piqued. "Source: a star system approximately 2 light days from our position," answered Navigator Prisha Sharma, already plotting the coordinates. "Not on our scheduled survey route." Reyes studied the signal pattern displayed on the main view screen. After years in deep space, she had developed an instinct for significant anomalies amid the cosmic background noise. This pulsing, complex sequence was no random stellar phenomenon. "Change course, Lieutenant Sharma. Let's investigate." As the horizon altered trajectory, excitement rippled through the crew. First contact protocols were reviewed, and the ship's xenolinguistics team prepared communication algorithms for potential interaction with an unknown intelligence. The signal grew stronger as they approached a yellow-orange star with 11 planets. Science Officer Dr. Marcus Chen's voice tightened as sensor data streamed in. "Signal originates from the 5th planet. Terrestrial world. Nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. But, Captain, I'm detecting massive seismic instability." The main view screen revealed a world in crisis. Vast fissures scarred continents. Volcanic plumes darkened the skies. What appeared to be sprawling settlements lay in ruins. "Life signs?" Reyes asked, her voice hushed. "Approximately 12,000 individuals," Chen confirmed, "concentrated in underground structures near the equator. And the signal is definitely a distress beacon broadcasting on multiple frequencies." Reyes ordered a closer approach. Scanning drones dispatched to the surface confirmed their fears. The planet's tectonic plates were becoming catastrophically unstable. Within weeks, perhaps days, the world would become uninhabitable. "Prepare a landing team," Reyes decided. "We'll make contact and assess the situation." The shuttle descended through turbulent atmosphere, landing on a relatively stable plateau near one of the underground settlement entrances. Captain Reyes led the team personally, along with Dr. Chen, Security Chief Amara Okafor, and xenolinguist Dr. Elijah Kim. They wore environmental suits as a precaution against the deteriorating planetary conditions. As they approached what appeared to be an entrance, the ground trembled violently beneath their feet. "Movement ahead," Okafor warned, hand moving to her particle weapon. Tall, slender figures emerged from the entrance, beings with iridescent indigo skin and large, luminescent silver eyes. Their bodies seemed almost fragile, with elongated limbs and features that conveyed both grace and vulnerability. They wore simple garments embroidered with complex geometric patterns and carried no visible weapons. Dr. Kim stepped forward with the universal translator, but before he could activate it, he gasped and stumbled backward. "Doctor?" Reyes questioned, concerned. "There in my mind," Kim whispered, his expression one of astonishment rather than fear. "Thoughts, emotions, so clear." The tallest of the aliens approached, hands extended in what seemed to be a universal gesture of peace. Kim nodded, apparently responding to something unspoken. "They want us to follow them underground," Kim translated. "Their council wishes to speak with us." The team followed the aliens, who Kim mentally understood were called the Luraxi, through winding tunnels illuminated by crystalline lights embedded in the walls. The underground complex was vast, but showed signs of strain. Fissures in the walls, makeshift repairs, and overcrowded living spaces. Luraxi children watched the humans with wide, curious eyes. The council chamber was a circular room where 7 elderly Luraxi sat in a semicircle. As the humans entered, Reyes felt a gentle pressure against her mind. Not invasive, but present, like a soft knock on a door. Through Kim's translation, and the Liraxi's telepathic projections, their tragic story unfolded. Once masters of a civilization spanning several star systems, the Liraxi had been a peaceful race focused on art, philosophy, and mental sciences. Their natural telepathic abilities had made conventional technology largely unnecessary for communication among their own kind. But those same abilities had drawn the fear and aggression of the Shadowkin Collective, a predatory species that viewed telepathy as an existential threat to their hierarchical society. Over generations, the Shadowkin had systematically hunted the Liraxi, destroying their colonies and forcing them back to their ancestral homeworld. "Why didn't you fight back?" Rise asked. The eldest Liraxi, introduced as Elder Thalia, projected images of their history. The Liraxi had never developed significant weapons or military technology, believing cooperation would always prevail over conflict. When the Shadowkin attacks began, they had appealed to other spacefaring races for help, but fear of Shadowkin retaliation had led to their abandonment. "We are the last." Kim, translated as Elder Thalia's mental voice, filled his mind. "When our world dies, so too will our kind." Rise listened as Dr. Chen provided updates on the planet's condition. According to their calculations, complete planetary failure would occur within 2 weeks. She stepped away from the council to confer with her team. "If we leave them here, they die," Dr. Chen stated simply. Security Chief Okafor was more cautious. "We don't know if bringing them to Earth space might attract these Shadowkin to our doorstep." Rais considered the options. The horizon could accommodate the survivors, but they would need somewhere to go. Establishing contact with Earth Command would take days given their distance from the nearest relay station. A violent tremor shook the chamber, sending dust cascading from the ceiling, a stark reminder that time was running out. Rais returned to the council. "My ship can evacuate your people," she said as Kim translated. "We can't promise permanent sanctuary until our government approves, but we won't leave you to die here." Elder Thalia rose slowly, her fragile form seeming to straighten with hope. The mental impression she projected needed no translation. Profound gratitude mixed with cautious optimism. Back aboard the horizon, Rais called her senior officers to the conference room. "Begin evacuation protocols," she ordered. "Convert cargo bays for temporary quarters. Medical, prepare for their specific needs. Communications, draft a message to Earth Command, explaining our situation." As the officers dispersed to their duties, Rais remained alone in the conference room, staring at the image of the dying planet on the display. She had just committed her ship and crew to a refugee mission that might have far-reaching consequences. But watching the Liraxi children being safely brought aboard hours later, their wide eyes filled with wonder at their first glimpse of the stars without the filter of their failing atmosphere, she knew she had made the only choice she could live with. "We're bringing them home," she said softly to herself, "whatever home might be." The first days after the Liraxi came aboard the horizon were filled with tension and uncertainty. The ship's corridors, designed for a crew of 180, now held over 12,000 refugees. Every available space had been converted to temporary housing, cargo bays repurposed with sleeping mats, observation lounges transformed into communal areas. Dr. Kim worked tirelessly to establish meaningful communication. The universal translator, designed to analyze speech patterns, struggled with the Liraxi's primary mode of telepathic communication. Their spoken language was rudimentary, used mainly for simple interactions with non-telepathic species they had encountered in their past. "It's like trying to understand a symphony by reading sheet music," Kim explained to Captain Reyes during their daily briefing. "We're getting the notes but missing the emotion, the context, the actual music." The breakthrough happened unexpectedly. During a particularly difficult session, Kim had developed a severe headache from the strain of attempted communication. As he rubbed his temples in pain, Elder Thalia had reached across the table and gently touched his hand. Before anyone could react, Kim gasped, his eyes widening. For several moments, he sat completely still, hand connected to the Liraxi elder. "I can hear her," he finally said, voice filled with wonder. "Not with my ears." in my mind. Over the next few days, Kim worked with crew members who volunteered to attempt contact. They discovered that approximately 30% of humans could establish at least basic telepathic connections with the Luraxi. Those who succeeded described it as suddenly understanding a language they hadn't known they spoke. Through these mental bridges, the full story of the Luraxi emerged. They had once been part of a loose confederation of species that traded knowledge and culture across several star systems. When the Shadowkin Collective began their expansion 3 centuries ago, most races had chosen submission over conflict. The Luraxi, whose telepathic abilities made them impossible to fully control, became targets instead. They were abandoned, Kim explained after a lengthy mental exchange with Elder Thalia. Former allies turned their backs when the Shadowkin threatened retaliation. Despite improved communication, distrust lingered on both sides. Many crew members avoided areas where Luraxi gathered, uncomfortable with the idea of beings who could potentially read minds. The Luraxi, in turn, kept to themselves, their large eyes watching humans with a mixture of hope and wariness. Elder Thalia remained skeptical during her mental exchanges with Kim. "Your kind speaks of rescue," she projected. "But what will you ask in return? All help comes with a price. We have learned this lesson painfully." Kim tried to reassure her, but words, even mental ones, weren't enough. Actions would need to speak louder. The opportunity came 2 weeks into their journey. The Horizon had maintained a course toward the nearest Earth outpost while awaiting response from command. Lieutenant Sharma was supervising a team checking power couplings in one of the lower cargo bays where many Luraxi families had been housed. A group of Luraxi children watched the humans work, their natural curiosity overcoming their parents' caution. Without warning, the ship's sensors detected a micrometeoroid swarm directly in their path. The automatic evasive maneuvers sent the Horizon into a sharp roll. In the cargo bay, the sudden shift caused a support beam, weakened from recent modifications, to crack. "Everyone out," Sharma shouted, gesturing frantically as her team rushed for the exit. Most of the Luraxi adults understood the danger and moved quickly, shepherding their children toward safety. But 3 young Luraxi had wandered into a small maintenance alcove, now cut off from the main exit by the failing support structure. Sharma saw their frightened faces as pieces of ceiling began to fall. Without hesitation, she sprinted toward them, dodging falling debris. "Get to the door," she called to her team. "I'll get the children." The alcove was filling with dust as more of the ceiling collapsed. Sharma reached the children and gathered them close. "It's okay," she said, knowing they couldn't understand her words but hoping her tone would calm them. She searched desperately for a safe path back. There wasn't one. The main support was now hanging by mere centimeters of stressed metal, ready to give way completely. Sharma activated her communicator. "This is Lieutenant Sharma. I've got 3 Luraxi children in Section C4 maintenance alcove. We're cut off, need emergency transport or extraction." As she waited for a response, one of the children looked up at her with wide, frightened eyes and tentatively touched her hand. Immediately, Sharma felt a gentle presence in her mind, scared but also curious about why this stranger would risk herself. "To protect you," Sharma thought simply, not knowing if the child could understand. The child blinked, and Sharma felt a wave of surprise, followed by something like gratitude. The rescue team arrived minutes later, cutting through a maintenance panel from the adjacent section. As they were pulled to safety, Sharma noticed Elder Thalia standing with the worried parents, watching intently. That evening, Captain Rice was surprised when Elder Thalia requested a meeting without Dr. Kim present. Instead, she brought one of the children Sharma had saved. As they sat in the small conference room, the child reached for Rice's hand. She hesitated only briefly before allowing the contact. Immediately, she experienced a rush of images and emotions, the cave-in from the child's perspective, the fear, and then Lieutenant Sharma's unhesitating rush to protect them. Most striking was the moment of connection when Sharma's simple thought, "To protect you," had been received and understood. Elder Thalia spoke in her limited verbal language, but the child provided mental context that made her meaning clear. Perhaps, Elder Thalia told Captain Rice, her large eyes softening, "Your kind is different after all." Defiance and protection. The incident marked a turning point. The next day, more Laraxi approached crew members, offering mental contact. More humans volunteered to learn the basics of telepathic communication. Shared meals began in the mess hall, with Laraxi and humans attempting to understand each other's customs and needs. Dr. Kim established a formal cultural exchange program with daily sessions where both species could share knowledge. The Laraxi, it turned out, had much to offer. Their understanding of psychology and mental sciences far exceeded Earth's, and their astronomical knowledge included detailed information about regions humans had yet to explore. As the horizon continued its journey, the uneasy coexistence gradually transformed into something neither side had expected: the beginning of friendship. Captain Reyes received preliminary approval from Earth Command to proceed with the rescue operation. With the Laraxi homeworld's condition worsening rapidly, they worked against time to evacuate the remaining population. "Surface temperatures are rising across all continents," reported Dr. Chen during the third day of evacuation. "The tectonic instability is accelerating. I estimate we have 4 days before catastrophic failure begins." Reyes nodded grimly. "Speed up the rotation. I want 3 shuttles running constantly." The operation took on a sense of urgency that infected both humans and Laraxi. The refugees brought little with them, only what they could carry and items of cultural significance. Elder Thalia insisted their historical archives be prioritized, the collected knowledge and art of their civilization stored in crystalline memory structures. By the end of the third day, just over half the Laraxi population had been transferred to the horizon. The ship was beyond capacity, with every available space converted to temporary quarters. Chief Engineer Takumi Nakamura worked tirelessly to maintain life support systems under the increased load. "We're pushing the environmental systems to their limit," Nakamura told Reyes during their evening briefing. "Oxygen recycling is at 92% efficiency, but CO2 scrubbers are struggling. We need to complete this operation quickly." Reyes rubbed her tired eyes. "Understood. We'll maintain current pace until—" An alarm interrupted her, its urgent tone cutting through the ship. Reyes rushed to the bridge, where Lieutenant Ortega was already at his station. "Report," Reyes demanded as she took the command chair. Long-range sensors picked up a ship dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. Ortega said, his voice tight. "Configuration matches nothing in our database, but energy signature is massive." Navigator Sharma looked up from her console, face pale. "They're on an intercept course. Estimated arrival in our orbit, 3 hours." Reyes turned to Dr. Kim, who had been working with Laraxi elders on the bridge to coordinate the evacuation. Could it be? Kim didn't need to finish the question. One of the Laraxi, an elder named Neres, approached. She placed her slender hand on Kim's arm, and the xenolinguist's expression darkened as he received her mental message. "It's them," Kim confirmed. "The Shadowkin." The Laraxi recognized the energy signature. "They found us," Sharma said grimly. Reyes made her decision instantly. "Recall all shuttles immediately. Prepare for emergency departure." "Commander," Security Chief Okafor interjected, "there are still over 5,000 Laraxi on the surface." Reyes's jaw tightened. "I'm aware. But if that ship catches us in orbit, none of us will survive. We need to break orbit, hide in the system, and find another opportunity to return." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, though the weight of leaving thousands behind hung heavy in the air. The Laraxi elders conferred silently, their telepathic exchange invisible but intense. Elder Thalia approached Reyes. Through a mental connection facilitated by Kim, she communicated directly. "Our people understand." Her thoughts came with a sense of resignation and grief. "Better some survive than none. But if possible, we'll return for the others," Reyes promised. I won't abandon them. The Horizon broke orbit just as the last shuttle docked. Engineer Nakamura pushed the engines beyond recommended limits, putting distance between them and the approaching Shadowkin vessel. Can we outrun them? Rise asked. Not if their FTL capabilities match their energy output, Sharma answered. But we might be able to hide in the asteroid field between the 6th and 7th planets. The mineral composition should mask our signature. Make it so, Rise ordered. The ship slipped into the dense asteroid field, power reduced to minimum levels. On the bridge, tension mounted as they watched the Shadowkin warship enter orbit around the Luraxi homeworld. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of the Horizon. Its hull bristled with what were clearly weapon emplacements. They're scanning the surface, Ortega reported, focusing on the settlement areas. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then Ortega's console lit up with alerts. They're firing on the surface. Heavy energy weapons targeting the underground complexes. The view screen showed flashes of light as the Shadowkin ship systematically destroyed the remaining Luraxi shelters. The bridge crew watched in horror, unable to intervene without revealing their position and condemning the refugees already aboard. Elder Thalia and the other Luraxi on the bridge stood motionless, their large eyes reflecting the destruction of their world and their people. No tears fell. Luraxi physiology didn't include such expressions of grief. But the wave of sorrow that emanated from them was palpable even to crew members without telepathic sensitivity. After completing its grim work, the Shadowkin ship began a methodical search pattern of the system. They know some Luraxi escaped. Kim translated the thoughts of Elder Neris. They're hunting us. Rais considered their options. The Horizon's stealth systems were good, but a thorough search would eventually find them. Their only advantage was that the Shadowkin didn't know humans were involved yet. They were looking for Luraxi ships. We need a plan, Rais said. We can't outfight them. And we may not be able to hide indefinitely. It was Lieutenant Sharma who offered an unexpected solution. Captain, the Luraxi telepathy. Could it be useful in combat? Rais looked at her. Explain. If they can sense intentions and thoughts, they might be able to predict enemy actions. Combined with our tactical systems, Rais turned to Elder Thalia, who had been listening through her connection with Kim. After a brief telepathic conference with the other Luraxi, she nodded. We have never used our gifts for war, Kim translated. But to protect what remains of our people, we will try. Over the next hour, a plan formed. 6 Luraxi with particularly strong telepathic abilities were stationed in tactical control, each linked mentally with a human operator. Their task: to sense the Shadowkin intentions moments before they acted, giving the Horizon precious seconds of advance warning. It's not much, Security Chief Okafor admitted, but in space combat, even a 2-second advantage in reaction time can be decisive. The Horizon also had one technological edge: Earth's experimental adaptive shield system, designed to redistribute energy dynamically to meet incoming threats. Never tested in actual combat, it represented their best hope for surviving long enough to escape. Coordination is our edge, Captain Reyes told her crew as they prepared to make their move. Let's show them what humans and Luraxi can accomplish together. Their opportunity came when the Shadowkin ship moved to the far side of the system to continue its search. The Horizon powered up and made a dash for the system's edge, where they could initiate FTL travel toward Earth space. They were halfway to the jump point when the Shadowkin detected them. The alien warship changed course with surprising speed, closing the distance rapidly. They're targeting our engines, called out one of the tactical officers, guided by his Luraxi partner. Impact in 3 seconds. Shields to aft quadrant. Rise ordered. The Horizon shuddered as the energy weapon struck, but the shields held, barely. Return fire, defensive pattern only, Rise commanded. Target their weapon systems. What followed was a desperate game of cat and mouse. The Horizon was faster and more agile, but the Shadowkin ship's weapons were devastating. Each hit drained their shield resources substantially. What saved them was the telepathic early warning system. Time and again, the Luraxi sensed the Shadowkin gunners' intentions just before they fired, allowing the Horizon to adjust shields or change course in those crucial moments. FTL drive charging. Sharma reported, 40 seconds to jump capability. We won't last 40 seconds under this barrage, Engineer Nakamura warned over the comm. Shields are at 31% and falling. Then a Luraxi navigator named Lyra made contact with Sharma through their mental link. Lyra had detected a pattern in the Shadowkin attack sequence, a brief vulnerability in their firing cycle. Captain, Sharma said urgently, if we cut power to all non-essential systems and divert everything to engines for an 8-second burst, we can create enough distance to jump safely. But we'll be completely vulnerable during those 8 seconds. The timing would need to be perfect, Okafor cautioned. Raiz glanced at the Luraxi navigator, who projected confidence through her mental link. She made her decision. Do it. On your mark, Lieutenant. Sharma counted down, guided by Lyra's telepathic precision. 3, 2, 1. Now. The horizon went dark as all power diverted to engines. It surged forward just as the Shadowkin weapons entered their brief recharge cycle. For 8 terrifying seconds, they flew without shields or weapons, completely defenseless. Then power returned, and Sharma shouted triumphantly, FTL ready. Jumping now. The stars streaked as the horizon escaped into faster-than-light travel, leaving the Shadowkin warship behind. Cheers erupted across the bridge, humans and Luraxi celebrating together. But their joy was short-lived. In the final moments before jumping, they had intercepted a transmission from the Shadowkin ship. They've called for reinforcements, Ortega reported soberly. A hunter fleet is being mobilized, and they now know that humans helped the Luraxi escape. Raiz sent a detailed report to Earth Command, explaining the situation and the potential threat now facing humanity. The response came 3 days later as they approached the outer boundary of Earth's territory. The message was brief but clear. Proceed to Earth. The Luraxi will be granted sanctuary. Diplomatic consequences will be managed. Defense fleet being mobilized as precaution. Well done, Captain Reyes. Reyes read the message aloud to her officers and the Luraxi elders. When she finished, silence filled the room. Your government will risk war with the Shadowkin for us, Elder Thalia asked through Kim. After what happened with our former allies. Reyes nodded. Apparently so. Why? The simple question carried genuine confusion. Reyes considered her answer carefully. Because it's the right thing to do. And because Earth has learned through its own history that appeasing aggressors only encourages them. If not for you, they would eventually find another reason to target humanity. As she looked around at her crew and the Luraxi refugees they had saved, Reyes felt both pride and concern. They had begun something important, but the real challenge still lay ahead. 6 months later, Captain Reyes stood on the observation deck of the orbital defense platform Sentinel, watching the Earth Defense Fleet conduct maneuvers in the shadow of Luna. 76 vessels arranged in formation, with the flagship Defiance at its center. Beside her stood Elder Thalia, now the appointed ambassador of the Luraxi people to the United Earth government. The Elder's formerly fragile frame had filled out slightly under Earth's medical care, and the despair that had once clouded her silver eyes had been replaced by determination. Your people learn quickly, Thalia observed, her spoken English now fluent after months of intensive study. Reyes nodded. We've had practice preparing for threats. It's something of a human specialty. And yet you chose to defend a species you barely knew, at great risk to yourselves. Another human specialty, Reyes said with a slight smile. Making impulsive decisions that turn out to be the right ones. On the bridge of the Defiance below, human tactical officers worked alongside Luraxi advisors, their unique abilities now integrated into Earth's defense strategies. The first Luraxi human children, born to human parents with activated telepathic potential, were beginning to show signs of both species' gifts. Long-range sensors had detected the approach of a Shadowkin battle group, larger than the first, but expected. This time, Earth would not be caught unprepared. "Do you ever regret it?" Philia asked, her mental voice brushing gently against Reyes' consciousness. "Bringing us here," drawing their attention to Earth. Reyes watched a flight of interceptors practice evasive maneuvers, their movements precisely coordinated through the Liraxi-enhanced tactical network. "Never," she answered without hesitation. Humanity needed the reminder. Reminder that we're stronger together, that compassion isn't weakness. Reyes turned to face the Elder. "The Shadowkin believe your telepathy makes you dangerous. They're right, but not in the way they think. You didn't threaten them with weapons. You threatened them with a different way of seeing the universe, with understanding rather than domination." Philia's expression softened. "And now," Reyes said, returning her gaze to the fleet, "we show them what happens when understanding and strength stand together." As if on cue, the Earth fleet executed a perfect formation change, shields synchronizing in a ripple of energy that flowed from ship to ship like a wave. A new defense technique made possible only through the perfect mental coordination of human technology and Liraxi telepathy. Humanity had found unlikely allies among the stars, and in doing so, had rediscovered the best of itself. Whatever challenges the future held, they would face them not as separate species, but as one united front against the darkness. The forgotten race had found more than protection. They had found a new home, and humanity had found a new purpose.